Listeners be advised, this episode is rated R for colorful language.
All right, welcome to Season 2 of the Sporting Chance Podcast, your home for all things falconry and unconventional hunting techniques.
This podcast is brought to you by MountainStateFalconrySupply.com. Check out Heather McNeamer's store for your East Coast falconry goods.
And also, this podcast is brought to you by MidnightFalconry.com, the makers of the tightest braided equipment on the market.
Check out supporter of the show, Sean O'Neill's Kennel, Clover Creek Canine on Facebook. Your source for performance canines since 1983.
And let us not forget our boy, Seth Roy, at NorthMountainGoshawks.com. And if you'd like to support the podcast, visit SportingChancePod.com for all of your merch needs.
All right, Tyler, welcome back to the Sporting Chance.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, episode 1. That was you, our very first guest.
What? No one can take that from me.
Never.
No, unless we delete the episode.
Yeah, but then number 2 will be number 2, and everyone will be like, what happened to number 1? The forgotten episode.
Yeah, and we'll put it behind a paywall.
I think it was a good one. The audio was a little rough on it, but I think we were literally using Skype for that one.
But yeah, it was Skype.
Yeah.
Yeah, the audio was trash, bro. It was not good.
Sometimes it's no better, but
right.
The focus of today's episode is imprinting goshawks and accipiters as it relates. So Tyler, you pretty much exclusively hunt with goshawks.
Yeah, at this point, yeah. It's been really 8 years since I've flown anything else.
Yeah. And you don't really have any plans to do anything else, do you?
I flew the prairie last year, but when my goshawk caught West Nile, like it just took the wind out of my sails, and I was gonna let it go, but someone asked to fly him, and then they ended up letting him go. So
I lost my birds last season. It just, like, I don't know, man. It put me in a funk.
Yeah, no, dude, like I was ready to quit. Like, that's how mad I was for probably like 4 months. Like, I was like, I don't even know if I want to do this again. Like, I don't want to, like, this sucks. Like, you put everything into it, every ounce of your being, and then a goddamn mosquito kills your bird.
I actually took Casey to the spot where my goshawk died to see what he thought about it. He came down. What were your thoughts, Casey?
My thoughts are it can literally happen anywhere, anytime, in any place. It's just the middle of the fucking woods. Just smacked the tree, hit the wrong angle, punctured something inside, and just slowly bled out over the course of a couple of days with internal bleeding. I mean, it's like,
dude, the story I think of. So, like, Eric Feltman flew a goshawk at a sewer plant for 12 years that he worked at, right? Same slip every day, caught a limit of ducks just about every time he flew for 12 years. One day that bird flew into a handrail there and died.
I remember that story, actually. I remember that. That was a while ago.
I have it on video, and it makes me want to throw up.
It's just, it's ridiculous. Like, one little horizontal just smacks into it, kills itself. It's just
12 years. Dude, the bird flew the same slip for 12 years, literally. And then one day just did it wrong.
Yeah.
Domed itself on a handrail, flying between the handrails, like round handrails, not barbed wire, nothing like 3-inch pipe.
Jeez.
Goshawks seem to have a penchant for killing themselves.
Yeah, and then like Cooper's hawks are even worse. So it's like, why would I want to fly something more suicidal?
Sharpies don't die more.
They don't even want to live.
Yeah, right. That's what I heard. Yeah,
I don't think they want to die more. I just think they just don't want to live. Like,
right.
I will say, I I interviewed a female that was Mike's, and she lived for 8 years, and he let her go.
That's impressive. Yeah, that's a while.
And then let me think about all the other Sharpies I know that live that long. None. So like, other than like Keith Rickman, I think had one for like 17 years, but like that's it.
That's wild.
And she didn't even die. He like lost her one day.
She probably died still.
She definitely died at some point.
Yeah, I mean, that's like way past their lifespan. But like, yeah.
So Tyler, are you getting a new Goshawk this year?
I am. I'm going to get one from Jeff Kissick.
Okay. Jeff's a good dude.
Imprint,
I don't know what I'm getting yet. Like I just said, get me a big male Goshawk.
What
are you going to imprint it? Because Jeff does some chamber rays too, doesn't he?
Yeah, and he does hack birds for some people, but I'm going to imprint this one myself. I'm going to actually just try to not hack mine for once, and so I might regret it. So we'll see.
So my first question is, we all generally know how to start a bird from, when it's living in the nest bowl. What do you do to introduce the bird to stimulus early on? What are your thoughts on that?
Like game or like things?
No, to cars, people, dogs.
So I don't find it to be as important. I mean, obviously they need to be around your hands and stuff, and like dogs a little bit, but until they're like walking around, I don't go over the top. Like you'll never catch me in Home Depot with an iris.
Okay, that's my question. Yeah. Okay.
I think that's the most attention seeking behavior ever, but that's my personal opinion.
Agreed.
I've never done that, and my birds have been pretty good about people, I did a demo at Pheasant Fest with over 30,000 people with a goshawk, and like, I mean, my bird wasn't like having a good time, but like,
right, yeah,
he didn't have a stroke.
Yeah,
he wasn't twittering, he wasn't freaking out. Like, he was baiting, and then like would chill for a little bit, and then wanted back in his box. But like, I've seen some goshawks that like they're like, oh no, he can't even be around a red pair of sneakers.
What do you think that comes from?
Bending to the will of their bird. I think a lot of people are too quick to give into their bird being a pain in the ass. I wear sunglasses. I hunt with people that wear neon orange traffic vests. My birds don't care. Like, my first imprint cared about sunglasses, and then like, okay, that is kind of a lot for a bird to deal with, but because they can see themselves in them, like that's kind of weird. But then after that, I've worn sunglasses when imprinting, and then haven't had an issue since.
Mm-hmm. So what stage do you start to introduce the bird? Well, you said when they're walking, so talk us through that.
Like when they're wobbling around and hopping out of their nest bowl, like that's the stage where I think the stimulus becomes more important. And I don't just flood them with it. Like, okay, it's time to feed. Like, I'm going to start my dirt bike and make you walk through 3 running dirt bikes to eat. Like, and like make it a good thing too, like not just like make them sit in a nest bowl next to it. Like, here, walk to the lure by these things that you would typically hate.
That's good. That's good.
It worked. It worked the last time I did it, and with dirt bikes and stuff. There's a guy named Sean Derrick that has a goshawk that'll ride his 4-wheeler.
That's cool.
I was blown away when I saw it, and I was like, man, maybe they're way more. And it's a female pure albitus, and he'll drive through his property and it'll come down and land on the handlebars, and I was like, man, maybe they're like way more tolerant than we really give them credit for.
Yeah.
You had said that people bend to the bird's will too much, and I kind of agree with you on that. Actually, I do agree with you on that. Not kind of. That, like all of my animals, like all my dogs, they're all just kind of, they've got the same demeanor around people. They're not super sensitive or shy or aggressive or anything. And part of that is just because the way they've always been handled and dealt with their entire lives, they don't know any different.
Yeah, like you will let me scruff you. You will let me cut your nails. And my buddy can pick you up and he can scruff you. And like, you don't get a choice. Like, it is not a choice. Like, this is not dogs. Like, I'm not going to wait for my dog to consent, and I'm not going to wait for my bird to consent to someone wearing purple. It's crazy to me. I take too many people hunting to be like, no, you got to put away that jacket or you got to change your hat. Like I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like if you're not going to hunt with somebody wearing a purple jacket, then you're just not going to hunt. That's the way you see it.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to deal with this. I'm going to put you back in the truck and we're going to try again tomorrow, 3 grams lower.
And you think they learn from that?
I think they do. I think where they also learn from is when you make that person take that jacket off and then proceed to hunt, they learn that they can fly the hell off until you take away what they don't like.
Right. Are you doing anything? Are you doing anything to like set that up, like tidbitting, stuff like that? Like,
yeah,
you know
sometimes
what I mean?
like, I mean, you know, when your Goshawks like bug eyed and like you're like, okay, he doesn't like something. And so, all right, I'll put the bird on my truck and call my bird to the lure through the crowd of people, you know, and then we'll go hunt. Like, no, we're going to start this off on a good foot before you can fly to a tree and not come down or something, you know? And I think a lot of people too, they're like, oh, my bird doesn't like this. Let's bag it when we're done hunting after all the people have like fallen back. Like, no, I'd rather like a lot of times I'll bag my bird in front of everyone and then start the hunt so that like my bird's already got his head screwed on straight. Like I never let my bird's head come unscrewed.
Right.
So like if I have a huge crowd, I'm like, all right, here you go, little girl. You're going to toss this quail. We're going to catch it. I'm going to trade my bird off. And then we're all going to go for a walk and catch a real one, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that sets the tone better too. And then the bird doesn't learn that it doesn't need to bully you because it's already getting what it wants. Like,
that's good. So I forgot who it was that told me this technique, but what they would do in that kind of a situation where the bird's starting to get a little, you know, spazzy, they'll have like same thing like a quail or a rabbit carcass, and while the bird's like getting ready to bait but didn't bait, they'll slide the carcass up in the glove, let the bird foot it with like 1 foot, and then kind of like pull it away.
And just get it like totally focused on something else.
And then the bird's like pissed and like amped, and then like that usually, like my buddy was telling me that, like just snaps them right out of it. And they're like, now they're in like freaking where to go, you know, and they're like in like kill mode and they don't give a crap what's around.
But that's a classic case of too, like timing isn't so important. And like you said, the key thing too, like before the bird baits.
Before.
Not like, oh, you can throw a fit and then I'll reward you. Like, no, I see you about to throw a fit. Let me get ahead of this.
All right. Yeah, and reading the body language is good, but I mean, so is there ever a point? Is there ever a point where you'll put if you got a group of people and the bird is doing something, and maybe, you know, like you'll just put the bird away and be like, let's give the bird some time or whatever. Is like any situation like that you would do that?
Yeah, and sometimes that happens. Like, so I typically, my Rain Man tisms kind of come out with my falconry, and like 3:30, I'm flying. That's my time to fly. And sometimes, like, you know, people want to see it and it's 2:00. And that's when you run into issues a lot of the times. Like, all right, now I'm going to change up everything on my bird and fly an hour and a half early. And then it's like, if it's working, I'll keep going, you know. But if it's not working, I'm just going to put the bird up and he can wait till 3:30, you know.
Yeah.
Or if he's a little heavy, like, all right, let's wait till 4. And now, like, he'll be like, what the hell? We're like, you're late.
Right. Have you noticed flying the bird at a different time, like on your own? You would notice a difference in your bird? Like, let's say a job gets canceled or something, and you're like, I'm going to go out at friggin' 10:00 in the morning. Like, because I hear stuff like this where people are like, oh, I cannot fly my bird before 4:30.
The problem with here, though, is like our weather. So, like, at 10, 11 in the morning, it could be 90 degrees. And then at 3:30, it's back down to 70, you know? So I've had issues with my North American with that. My European bird was better about his time being changed. My North American would like act like a whole new bird if you change the time of day.
Right.
And like, that's one thing where like, okay, I did bend to my bird on that, but I have others like, I'll just wait, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of good guys that they just refuse to fly before the time that they fly. And it's, and it's fine. It's like, it is what it is.
I like to start at 3:30 and hawk till dark and walk back in the dark. That's my thing.
Yeah. Are you into the whole, I want my bird to view me as this or that? Like, are you intentionally planning ahead? Like, are you hand feeding to basically become the parent? Or are you trying to be a sibling that the bird is going to outcompete in the field? Like what is, you know what I mean? Are you thinking about that stuff when you're raising?
No, they know where the food comes from. Like, I think they're smarter than everyone thinks. Like, and I'm not going to hide myself under a bed sheet and put a beak on my head either.
Right.
But like, and I've seen that method work for what they wanted to do, but like, I'll put a plate down. Like, they view the plate as a source of food, and that's where the food's going to come from. But like, they know that plate comes from me. Like, they can back chain that. Like, they're not. And like, my favorite example of Goshawk intelligence is when my Garmin beeps to let me know that my dog is on point. My last Goshawk would stand up an inch taller on my glove and start looking for the dogs. Like, that's not a dog barking. He knew that electronic device making that beep meant that we were going to walk to a dog point and then a bird was going to flush. And like, that's pretty smart of them, you know? I mean, it is an audible cue. It's like, it's essentially clicker training with a beep instead of a clicker. But I mean, everyone calls him a flying lizard. And like, that's a little bit smarter than a lizard.
Yeah. Good point.
I think anyone that's actually flown a goshawk understands how intelligent they are.
Yeah, and they're not freaky and spooky because they're dumb. They're freaky and spooky because they want to stay alive.
Right.
You notice that with falconry, a lot of people have opinions about things they've never done.
Yeah, and they'll die on those hills too. It's like, I've met a lot of people that have never caught more than 10 quail in their life tell me that reflushing a quail ruins your bird's enthusiasm for chasing. And I was like, well, damn, I've been doing it wrong, I guess.
Yeah. Or catching a rabbit from the trees with a goshawk is cheating.
It'll never ride the glove again.
Yeah, right. Yes, exactly.
That actually brings me to a question that I have for you about the glove. So do you out where you live, there's really not a lot of trees, so to speak, right? Where you're hawking. So it's mostly off the glove.
If there is, it's 8 feet tall. Like,
yeah, it's almost like they might as well be on a glove, right?
Yeah. And on like my last bird, I was very disciplined and like, no, if I'm going to reflush, you're going to get on my glove. And it made our relationship better, at least this bird in particular, whereas my North American, I was just so like, we were talking 7-8 years ago. Like, I was on such a war path to rack numbers up. I didn't care. Like, I wouldn't wait. I just wanted to catch as much as I could. And so, but that bird started to learn my fields and would fly to like a water tower it had caught off of and stuff. And like, that kind of got hard to deal with.
Yeah. So how do you acclimate the bird to the glove, to stay on the glove, to chase off the glove, to get back on the glove, all of that?
So in the beginning, I'll take 3 bird launchers and I'll scatter them about a half mile apart with a quail in them. And I know where they are. And so I'll go on a mock hunt, in an area with quail. And if I'm not finding wild quail, I will hunt to a launcher and then launch a baggie when the bird is on my glove. And then I'll trade my bird off, pick it up, hunt another 20, 30 minutes, and then hunt to the next launcher. So that way there, my bird is learning to ride the glove it starts out with 5 minutes, and then goes to 20 and then eventually an hour. And I'm teaching my bird that like, you need to wait and it's coming, cause like I took a secondhand bird last year that had been flown on a lure machine most of its life. And, that bird took me a whole season to get him to wait 20 minutes. And because his whole life, he had been taken to a field, flown to a lure, and then brought home,
Right.
So he never had to wait 20 minutes with nothing.
Interesting.
Casey, what are your thoughts on that with the lure machine?
Yeah, I have like, I think it's a pro, but I think it's also very easily a huge con for your bird. I think that the lure machine can become, it's like almost like doing too many like shitty baggies.
Yeah, like a Coturnix quail that doesn't fly.
Yeah, like at a certain point, like you're teaching, and I think I did that with this bird I have now, the white one. I think I did that because I was so excited with the lure machine, and it was fun. But like the bird would like chase like shit, and like it would still catch it. You know what I mean? And then I think I kind of taught the bird that it could half-ass every slip and still catch something. And then like only towards the end of the season, it like actually started to like turn it on because I was just like, if it didn't chase hard, I would just put it away and then hawk the next morning. Now, obviously, if it wasn't going to die, obviously I'd feed it, but I wouldn't feed it on the spot. I'd put it away hungry and then feed it like at home or, whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
I think putting them away hungry helps a lot too. And like, okay, you were a pain in my ass. I'm going to put you away hungry once I get your ass back. And I'm going to feed you at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
Like a pile of washed quail, and you're going to be hungrier tomorrow.
Exactly. Yeah. So that I think, because the whole like, you can never negatively reinforce your bird. And it's like, yeah, you can, because that's you're basically punishing your bird, but you're not, smacking it with its leash, but you're punishing your bird. You're teaching it that if you fly like that, you don't get anything out of that. You're going home hungry. And if you're going to die, I'm obviously going to feed you. But if you're heavy,
and then like,
you're not
just
eating.
just not letting you fly around and be a dick is negative reinforcement. Like, all right, I'm putting you away. I'm taking all the fun away. And now your meal is going to be 3 hours later than normal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, sometimes just putting I've had like, sometimes sure the same with you, Tyler, like sometimes you put them away and if you got time, you fly another bird or you just sit in the air conditioning and play on your phone. And an hour later you pull them back out. And a lot of times the whole tune changes,
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Just from that.
And it's not hard to kill an hour when you have a cell phone. Like it's like, all
right. Yeah, 100%.
I'm going to send all my friends these reels that they're not going to watch for the next hour. And then
right. Yeah.
I'm going to give all my friends homework that they're not going to do. And then I'm going to pull my bird back out.
Right. Exactly. I do want to go back if it's okay with Aaron. I want to know because I'm not the only person that has experienced this, and it was something that was a little bit of a surprise to me. And I have gotten messages from people that were like, what's up with like, why is this such a problem? And that's the whole thing with transitioning your bird. And maybe I just did it and I didn't plan for it. So we'll get a little insight here. Getting your bird from the nest bowl to standing, hopping around to willingly stepping onto the glove without any type of issue.
That's one of the hardest steps in raising an imprint. I'll admit that.
Jesus, thank you. I thought I was the only one.
Because if you're a donkey, you can really make that harder than it needs to be.
Right, yeah.
And if you're in a rush, you can really screw the pooch on that one. Like sometimes you just got to wait your bird out 10 minutes or carry like a shitty like Arab screw together block perch and like put a tidbit on it in the field and let them hop up to it and then put your hand behind them and scoop them that way.
Right.
I've done that and I hate carrying that thing around, but it is so much better than making my bird hate my hand.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I literally sat on my ass in my backyard for literally 45 minutes straight after the bird was finished eating with my glove on my knee, just sitting there waiting. And the bird is like, and then even then it jumps up and lands on my arm. Like it doesn't want to step on the glove. I've tried zip tying the glove to a bow perch, and then you just go out like an hour later, the bird's like standing on the ground or it's standing with its feet on either side of the glove, like holding onto the metal. Like some of them just don't want to step on the glove. Like it's like, I probably didn't plan for it. You know what I mean?
So there's two tricks I've learned that really work well, and they're not my ideas. Nicole Peretta, when they're eating off the plate, when they're about to take their last when they have like 2 to 3 bites left, pick the plate up with them on it and let them finish eating off the plate on your glove and then slip the plate out. The other one is McDermott. He feeds on the lure. He doesn't do the plate. And like when they're taking that last pull, pick the lure up and then have the lure on your glove. and then kind of slide the lure to the left of your, like the ball of your hand, and then they'll kind of step over.
Got it. That's good.
That works really well. Either of those methods. Because they learn, though, I'm going to put my hand behind you and push you into my hand trick real quick. And then they start doing I'm a pogo stick around and be a dick.
Yeah.
And you look like the weirdest person on earth chasing this bird that's playing hopscotch with your hand.
Oh my God. Yes. So annoying. I even thought about getting like a mannequin arm and like bolting it like next to the perch, like next to the nest bowl, and having nothing else like in a chamber or weathering area. And then just like when they're ready to perch for the first time, like that's their perch. And it's just like a glove. Like I thought about that. I've never tried it yet, but.
The worst for me is, so like when you're kind of starting getting there and the bird's riding the glove good, is sometimes when I'm hawking scaled quail and there's not a lot of grass and the quail are running, your goshawk will spot them at 800 yards sometimes. And they'll fly over to the covey and they'll try to swipe one on the ground. I've only ever seen it work one time in 8 years. But like, you can't tell that to your bird. They're like, I'm going to try it every time.
Yeah.
And they'll bomb the covey and the covey will like jump up and then like hide and like they're all dispersed right there. And I've army crawled to my friggin' bird trying to get it on my glove before reflushing them. And like, then they want to do the pogo stick around your glove and then the quail fly away and your bird's sitting there like, where are they going? And you're like, I want to fucking cry.
Yeah.
It's 90 degrees and that's the only covey I'm going to see today.
So why not just hold the bird back? That's a good discussion too.
I don't hold my birds back unless I really know they don't see something, because like I said, like sometimes they do spot it before I do, or the dogs smell it, you know? And so I don't want to get in the way of that.
Right.
And I try to avoid any negative association with my hand. I'll hold them back if I have to, you know, but like if I don't have to and I'm out in the middle of nowhere, like, all right, you want to fly around, like get it out of you.
Right. That's good. Yeah, that's good advice.
How do you pick up the bird? Do you pick it up with food? Do you?
No.
I know eventually the bird just hops right on the glove because it knows what's next. But
if they haven't caught anything, I don't. Especially when it's hot, you know, like there's only so much food I can give them in a day if I want to hunt every day. So like, I'll just follow them around and then eventually like scoop them on the glove, or sometimes I'll put like the smallest tidbit on the plate and then pick the plate up. But like, I don't just snatch Jess's like that. That usually you'll pay for that later.
Yeah, that's only in extreme emergencies.
Yeah, like if a combine's coming down the road, I'm going to snatch some Jess's because I'm about to have a really bad day if I don't.
Yeah.
Right.
So you do not call to the lure, you call to a plate of food?
I don't call to the lure unless I absolutely have to. If I can go, but I also live where they can't. And when I'm starting a bird, I truly go out into the middle of the desert where there is nothing to land on that isn't 4 feet tall for 3 miles, you know? So like, I'll just walk over to them and I'll keep walking over to them. Like, it's just. Now,
right.
once they start getting going and they're catching and I'm starting to hunt like the gnarlier canyons, yeah, I'm calling them across a canyon because it'll take me a half an hour to get over there.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
But I won't hunt those canyons until I really trust that bird, because I'm not playing follow the bird around like an idiot in stuff that could kill a human. You know, that's not fun.
Have you ever taught a goshawk to follow?
I have not. So I have no experience with that.
I know it's not necessary where you live.
Yeah, they'd have to like land on the ground where I live. Like, it wouldn't.
yeah. Then you just get a Harrowstalk at that point.
Yeah, and then if they're not landing on the ground, chances are it's cactus, and like I really try to keep them from landing on cactus if I can, because pulling cactus spines out of goshawk feet suck. And then if it gets impacted and you have to get surgery, that's also not very fun.
Casey, that's one of the downsides we don't think about when we're talking about hawking out west.
I know we're always running our mouth, but they have they have cactus and we don't. So that's really not. Yeah, I could see that being really annoying. Like at the end of a hunt, you're exhausted and like your bird's got cactus stuck in its feet, and now you got to sit out there and pluck them out. And
so then there's cactus spines, right? But then there's what's called glochids, and they are as thick as your eyelash, but they're sharp. And when they touch a patch of glochids, it's like 100 at a time, and you have to pull them out one by one with tweezers.
God.
Of the bottom of a goshawk's foot. Yeah, we've got a lot of cholla. Cholla is really not that bad because the needles are like long and firm, you know? But it's the glochids on like prickly pear and some of the smaller cactuses that...
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. I plucked a prickly pear, I tried to eat it, and they had like a bazillion little tiny, right on the tip of it.
Yeah,
basically like the or whatever. I'm not gonna say it.
So this is something you're not gonna do this year, but hacking.
I just don't have a hack site this year. It's really the only reason. But like, I think I can figure it out. You know, like I really enjoy hacking a bird, and like it's really nice flying a hacked bird because they know how to fly around and use the wind and stay out of the sun. And you know, like. There's weird little things they learn on hack, and they really take care of their feathers when they've been hacked. But I don't have a hack site this year. That's what it boils down to.
Why do you think that is? They take care of their feathers when they're hacked.
Well, because they sit out in a tree and get wind blown, you know, and they get dust and they get rained on, and I think they just learn to be a bird a little bit better. Whereas like when they're in a house, they're not getting cooked by the sun. They're not getting wind blown, you know, like.
I don't know about wild goshawks. How often are they found with feather damage? Wild adult goshawks.
I've never seen a wild goshawk with feather damage.
Same. They're always feather perfect.
Like immaculate, like glow in the dark.
Yeah. And they're out there smashing into limbs, into brush, into cactus, whatever. And they're keeping their feathers pristine.
And so, like, one of the nests by my house, they eat what's called an Abert squirrel, which are bigger than fox squirrels. And, like, they bring those big bastards to the nest all the time. I'm like, I don't know how you're not feather damaged at all. Like, I've seen chihuahuas smaller than Abert squirrels. Like, I don't know how they're doing it without breaking a feather.
Are those the things with the little tufts on their ears?
Yeah, they got, like, huge fur tufts, and they're black and white.
Dude. Are you allowed to, you're probably not allowed to hawk them, right?
No, you can hawk them. You can.
Oh, let's go.
I will take you right to them. They live in pine trees. Just a heads up.
Oh, that's fine. Let's go.
Like 100-foot pine trees.
Dude, I'll climb that thing. Let's go.
The wild goshawks catch a lot of those, you say?
I see them brought to the nest all the time. Okay. And you'll see their like tails at the bottom of the nest, you know, like where they're plucking birds.
Jeez.
That's neat. Yeah, that's very neat.
I've seen pictures. I thought it was like some kind of like anime thing. I didn't even know. Yeah.
They're a really interesting squirrel.
All right. So when you're looking for a hack site, what is it? What features are you looking for a suitable hack site?
No psychotic neighbors that you're not like okay with knocking on their door. That's step one.
Yeah. I do not have that at my house. Yeah,
like don't you like? I'm sure your neighbors like make moonshine.
Yeah, they hate me.
Yeah. That's good.
But actually, they don't. That's why they're not cool.
Yeah, like you live in the land of whistling trees,
whistling pines. So neighbors that aren't going to stomp your goshawk. That's number one.
Over their $4 Tractor Supply chicken.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, I was telling my wife about that. The dude who was it a red-tailed hawk? Brought it over in a bucket and said, smiling like I killed your hawk because it was killing my chicken.
Dude, there's a lot of stories like that. Rob Rainey, he's a lawyer, like owns a prominent law firm, right? He had his goshawk beat to death in front of him with a shovel in Oklahoma.
And over a chicken?
Over a goddamn barnyard mix Tractor Supply special. Like, we're not talking like high-end fancy chickens ever. It's always like they're living in a shanty and they're like 6 breeds in one.
Right. It's scary, man. And it's just, it's, but like, so like, Aaron's house, because I've been there and I've seen it, and we were looking for hack sites. I mean, it's hard because there's patches of woods, and then most of the patches of the woods have the train tracks that run right through it, and that's why it's a patch of woods, because it's right by the train, like the train tracks, and then there's houses surrounding it. So it's kind of like, you could put the bird in the middle. I was kind of telling him, you put the bird in the middle of this for like a week, but eventually it's going to be in the neighborhoods at some point. You know what I mean? So like, what would you do in that situation?
So I hacked the 2 North Americans. I hacked in a neighborhood, but this neighborhood was kind of nicer, and then it was newer. So there's no power poles. They're all underground. So there was that. And then I made like a computer printout, like a paper printout, laminated them with a picture of the bird, picture of me, picture of my friend. Like, this is us. Here's our phone numbers. This is our bird. If you see this, don't touch it. Don't kill it. Call me right away, And that hack went really well. And no one has like chickens or anything in that neighborhood,
Yeah, it's important.
But even then, like, my bird would land on like their automatic gate, and like I have a video of my bird riding an automatic gate as cars go in and out. Like, that was kind of scary.
Yeah.
And then like another time, I have a video of my bird sitting on a ceiling fan, playing it on it in the wind. Like, it wasn't on, but it was spinning because the wind was blowing, and it's my goshawk riding a ceiling fan. And I'm like, these things want to die. But then like week 2, they want to be less around people. They start flying around more and more, and then they start chasing homing pigeons like way up in the sky and stuff. And then like week 3 and 4, they really start moving.
All right, so you would hack birds for 3 or 4 weeks.
Ideally, like 30 days is my ideal.
Now, are you looking for do you have a number that you'd like to get to, or are you looking for a behavior when to call the hack?
So, funny story about this. Last year, it was like day 30, or 2 years ago, it was like day 30, year 4, 35, And it was just like an ego thing. I was like, how long can I get this bird to hack, And like, my bird started killing stuff, and was starting to, like, I was basically having to trap them back at night, and like, it was starting to get sketchy. And I called Mike, and I was like, dude, like, I damn near had to trap my bird back. It was 8:00 at night, like, and he was catching stuff. And Mike's like, what's the goal of a hack? I'm like, to build muscle and like learn these things. And he's like, has your bird learned those things? I was like, yeah. And he's like, does it have muscle? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, then end it. Like, you've accomplished the goal.
Right.
And he's like, you have this arbitrary number you've made up in your head that you want to get to. And there's no, like, you just got to read the bird in front of you and like, just call it. So like, going forward, yeah, like, if the bird's telling you he's done, he's done. Because like, they hit dispersal, you're screwed.
Right.
So when do you start the hack?
As soon as they can hop to like a fence post, not like fly, but hop, because then like 3 days from now they're flying,
Right.
So like, if they're running around, like, you want to feed them at the hack site and let them hang around and play on chairs while you sit in the backyard, and read a book. And that's the other thing. Like, what do you count that as day 1, or is day 1 when they fly? They like, there's no clear plan or standard of like, okay, if they can fly, that is day 1. Like, so like, from there, when is day 30? So like, that makes counting, you're like, because you could get to day 40 if you started when they couldn't even hop,
Right.
Like, it's hard. So I count it now. If they can fly to like a fence post, that's day 1. And then from there, like 3 weeks is good.
That's pretty early on.
It is.
Yeah.
But like if you're starting hack when they're flying good, like, my bird might technically be on day 8. So like, that makes my counting versus your counting confusing.
Right. Do you think that would make a difference? Because like when they can fly up to a fence post, I mean, they could have like
the next day they're flying to the roof.
Right.
You know?
They're like, there's like 3 or 4 bars on the tail. Like not like it looks like it's like half the tail is out and they could fly around pretty good if they wanted to. So like at that stage, like most people would be like, oh, this is still a baby bird. Like I don't want to put this thing out.
Yeah. I wouldn't leave them unattended.
Okay.
You know, at that
so
age.
You're not at that stage because there's the whole, you know what I mean? Like Paul and Phil, like they'll just put the bird out and go to work like in the city and then come home. You know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, like that's a lot. Like I got to be kind of around. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be in New York, like while my bird's like loose in the neighborhood. So like, but they just, you know, it's just they've done it so many times. Their neighbors like know who the hell they are. Like obviously, got screaming goshawks.
Well, and they have the benefit of they've lived in that neighborhood forever.
Right. Yeah.
And like Paul's neighbor is Phil, isn't it?
Paul's neighbor is Phil, and then Paul's brother-in-law and his brother-in-law and sister-in-law live next door, and then the other side of them is Jack. And Jack's not family, but he's basically family. He made all of our wedding
in
rings.
the first 10 days alone, like they're going to end up in one of those yards. Like they've got a good, and that's what I mean. They've got a good system. Like Jeff Kissick starts kind of when I do, but like he can't even see his neighbor's house.
Right.
Like,
yeah, nothing's happening unless a predator gets him.
And where he leaves them all day is his back porch. And like, same with McDermott. Like McDermott's house on both sides is like cow pasture. So like he starts his hack on the back porch and they don't leave the back porch for a week. And then like week 2, they're chasing meadowlarks in the fields next door. And so like week 3, that's when like they're going to the neighbors for him because they have stuff to chase in the vicinity.
I used to have this really cool neighbor next door named Dennis, and he had loud cars. He would start them up early in the morning and go to work. I never bitched about it. And then he sold his house, and then these assholes moved in. And I'm telling you, these are the people that would beat the goshawk to death with a shovel.
Ugh, that sucks.
So
my neighbor,
for that, I could do something like that, but I can't leave a bird unattended in my yard because of them.
Maybe you need to like buy him a bag of meth and just like say like, hey, don't kill my bird. Here's a present. Like, or whatever they're into.
Didn't they build like a 10-foot high privacy fence? Like they got a permit. Like they
probably think I'm the meth head. They're the ones they've got. I'm looking out my window right now, and they had an 8-foot privacy fence, and they added another 6 feet to it. So they have like literally a 14-foot fence, so they don't have to see my house.
Does the wind blow there?
Not really. No,
not enough.
It's North Carolina.
Really.
It's just like humid and like you just sweat your. I was just there. I was just visiting. I knew which house.
If I had a 14-foot fence, that thing would be at Casey's house right now where I live. Like the wind blows way too hard for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. They're
So what? So what would you recommend Aaron to do? He wants to hack if he gets a bird, but he's nervous about the risks. So like, what would you do? Drive an hour out of town and get permission on a farmer's place, or would you try to make it happen at the house?
I'd find a farmer that was cool and pay him, you know. Here's a bottle of brandy, a custom knife I had made for you, and $100. Like, let me just like let my bird fly around here, you know.
That's good. Okay, go ahead.
I hacked an hour away, and it's hard. Don't get me wrong; it's hard to hack an hour away, but I've done it twice with 3 different birds, and it's because of the site, it was worth it, you know. The main thing is if a hack site has a good tree, like that's step 1. Like if you got a good tree that they're going to hang out in most of the day, like they'll spend most of their day in that tree, but it's like the 2-3 hours that they fly around that's when you're getting the benefit.
Right.
What me and Casey landed on is I'm going to hack in the evening after work. Otherwise, I don't really, because of my schedule and because of the the reality of where I live, I'm probably just going to have to, when I get home, load up the bird, take it to one of my hunting spots and leave it there for 3 or 4 hours.
Where is your school? Is your school a big property?
It is not. It's a college campus.
Oh, damn. Never mind.
Which that'd be awesome if I could get away with that.
Because like I've seen some schools where like you could totally hack a bird on a lot of different schools throughout the country. It just depends.
You're right. Mine's in the middle of a downtown.
Because like the schools I went to in Massachusetts, like they butt up to like woods, so like you could like show up early and just throw the bird in the woods. You know,
that'd be perfect. But I don't have that.
Yeah, the best squirrel hawking is always done around a school. Always. And in my experience in Jersey, there's always squirrels in those fields.
In Missouri, it was always like it was always like a river, like a dry creek next to a golf course in Missouri. Like
well,
the woods around the golf courses.
All right. On the subject of hacks, we all know we talked about the benefits. We all know what the one downside is to a hack. Potential downside. What are
they can get killed. Like that is a very big downside. However, when you get to the other end of that rainbow, like, okay, the bird didn't die. Like, what are all the benefits? You know, it's a list.
Right. But
what are some potential ways?
No, I was just sorry to interrupt you, but sorry, Aaron, give me a second. Because we mentioned this on a previous episode. Tyler, didn't you put out like a poll a couple years ago? And you were like, how many falconers out there, how many of you have lost a bird out on hack? I'm just curious. And I think it was like
2 people.
It was like 2 people out of like 100 people that like answered your poll.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, can it happen? Yes. And like, obviously, like if you hack recklessly, like it can happen even more so. But like most people that hack a bird don't lose their bird on hack. That is fact, you know?
Right. I agree with that. Go ahead, Aaron. Sorry.
I was just going to ask what some ways you have heard of people losing birds on hack.
I lost a Cooper's hawk that I was hacking, but it was my fault. I got home late, and so they would come into my porch, and I would feed them on the porch. And so I turned the lights on when I got home. It was still dark. I hadn't brought them in, you know, because I was late. And so I threw quail out, and I had 2 coops on hack at that time. And I came back out like an hour later, like hoping they had finished eating their quail. And one of them was gone. And I checked the ring camera, and an owl came in and snatched him off my porch.
Oh my God!
What kind of owl?
Friggin' great horn.
It's always a great horn. It was a barred owl.
Never a barred owl.
It was a screech owl.
I think a barred owl would catch a Cooper's hawk if they had the chance.
If they had the chance, but like if someone says they lost a bird to an owl in the United States, it's a great horn. Like,
yeah.
Okay. So if you knew that gray horned owls were using a patch of woods, would you hack a bird in it?
Absolutely. But I wouldn't be leaving my bird out there till 7:00 at night on a Wednesday, you know, like I'd go get my bird at 6, you know, because when you're hacking a bird, they're feeding young too, you know, so they're hunting a little bit earlier. Like you just gotta, I mean, there's owls everywhere. So.
And gray horned owls will catch and kill things in the day.
Yeah. But
they will.
What are the odds that it's my female goshawk on it? Like
yeah, and you have to think, like, this is Phil was telling me, like, you have to think, or maybe it was you, Aaron, like, why would an owl in the middle of the summer with all this game around, why would it want to tangle with a full, like, almost a full grown goshawk?
That's my point.
Like, why would it do it? It's going to be like, all right, whatever. It's going to go for something else. Like, it would only be in the winter or like at a very vulnerable, like your bird's going to get picked off by an owl like at night. I don't.
Yeah, when your bird can't see it coming, it's going to get headshot on the end of a tree. Like,
right. Yeah, that's kind of my thought about it. And the only time it would be an issue is if that owl was flying and then your gos tried to engage with it, as goshawks like to do. But I don't think during the hack that would be as intense as it would be later when you're hawking and you encounter owls. It's just in my opinion.
No, I agree with that. Like, my bigger worry here isn't even the owls; it's the goddamn ravens. Like, if something's gonna screw some shit up for me on hack, it's ravens.
Right?
Are they just likely to chase your bird off?
Yeah, they'll run your bird off the hack site. Like I've had to go pick my bird up like 6 miles away because ravens found my bird.
I can see the disdain in your face while you're talking about them.
Oh, dude, I have no love for ravens. I couldn't hate a bird more.
Yeah.
And you're probably like most people, you thought they were cool before you had to deal with them on a regular
Absolutely.
basis.
Like before, when I first moved out here, I'm like, man, this is cool. There's ravens everywhere. Now I'm like, they're like up there with porcupines for me. Like if you snapped your fingers and made ravens and porcupines disappear, like my day would be better.
I mean, but porcupines, at least where I am, you can kill them like at will. There's like zero restrictions on killing porcupines.
Yeah, but like when your Yag catches a porcupine, you're not having a good day.
Or your Goshawk catches a porcupine.
I haven't had that happen yet, but I've come pretty fucking close.
I've had it happen, and it's not fun.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on someone I don't like.
Well, we didn't catch it. She fucked it up in the tree, and then came down with a million quills in her feet and tarsus.
Oh my god! Dude.
And then we casted her up, and while we casted her up, the landowner scurried home, got a 22, and shot it. And then I posed with it, but I made sure to say that we didn't actually, catch it. But she kind of caught it. I mean, we dispatched it. But she had it by the face. I mean, there's no way on planet Earth that a goshawk, I don't care, even if she's 1,300 grams, she's not pulling a porcupine out of a tree, a full-grown porcupine. It's not happening. So I didn't know what to do. I thought it was a squirrel until, But yeah, so there's always risks, I guess. And basically we're trying to, for the audience to just kind of understand the pros and the cons and the benefits, and to try to put that whole picture together. Cause it's basically like a curriculum, like you would for like a child for your goshawk. And you kind of have to have an idea of what the curriculum that you want to run with your bird. You can't just kind of start switching shit up like mid class. Like you kind of have to have a plan of what you want to do.
No, yeah, you need a written not written, but like you need a good rubric or how things are gonna go. Like the day I put a deposit down on my bird, I ordered 3 groups of 100 quail to ship on different days to my house, so that I will have quail in my pigeon loft all season long to train this bird. Like it's part of raising a goshawk. I spend more on quail than I did on my goshawk. Like
that's crazy.
All right, that's a great segue to my next question. Introducing to quarry. You're a quail hawker. You probably have whole quail in the bowl with the goshawk pretty early on, huh?
Yeah, and like they're plucking quail carcasses young, but like the most important thing on raising a goshawk for quail, other than a good bird dog, is good flying quail. Like not Caturnix, not crappy bobwhite that you bought at the Amish market on a Saturday morning. Like good flying flighted quail.
And what
like
kind of
quail that when you go to grab them, you like some get away because they're so slippery and fast and strong. And like you need to feed them good. You need to take care of them. Like,
are you buying flighted bobwhite?
I raise them myself and flight them myself. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Hold on. So I bought many a bag in the day. Okay. And I have found that when I buy 10 bags, the first 3, they fly really good. And then by the end of the week or the end of the 2 weeks, the last couple, they don't fly so good. So like, you can't just like all bags are not created equal from what I've seen. Like you got to keep them in shape.
You have to go out there and make them fly the length of your flight chamber every day.
That's such a pro tip. Yeah, I've never done that. I just know that if I want bags, I get them from Zach Bond, and I say, just give me a couple, because if he gives me a bunch, by the time I get to the end of the bunch, they're flying like shit and they're useless to me.
Do an experiment. Put a couple quail in a 5 by 10, and then give some of them like a 20-foot that's like 3 feet wide, and compare the ones that were in the little pen to the ones that had like 20 feet to fly or 100 feet or whatever you can get away with. The longer you can give them to fly, the better. Like I've had bags so good that I cringe when people say like, oh, my farm raised quail fly as good as wild quail. They don't, but they can get pretty close. And wild quail always know where to go. That's a difference. Like A baggie has no idea where you go. You just took them to Mars and let them go. And they're like, I don't know where to go. But like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, no, you need to, and they need to eat good. Like, feed them good game bird feed with like racing pigeon food mixed in. Like, they need to eat good.
A little Coke in there, yeah.
Little Bam Bam.
Yeah, a little something. Okay. It's good advice.
Does it matter? You hunt different types of quail. Does it matter if your bird sees scaled quail and California quail? And
no, like I raise all my birds on bobwhites and chuckers and some pheasant. I introduce pheasant later when they're confident. Pheasant can really screw up a bird if the bird's not ready for it. Like, pheasant fight.
Let's touch on that, Tyler. Can you go into that a little bit more?
If your bird has never caught a bird before and you toss it a baggy rooster and that baggy rooster beats the brakes off your bird, you just ruined your bird for roosters. Like, I want my bird to catch 10 dumb ones and like incrementally make them harder. And then I want them to meet the final boss that's going to fight back. Because I want my bird leaving the glove knowing it can catch what it just like chased. And so, yeah, I see a lot of people like, oh, I'll just go get a pheasant and start my bird that way. And I'm like, no, I build them up. Quail and then into chucker and then into pheasant. Like, I build them up. It's just aiming with ducks. Like, if your bird's never caught a bird before and you throw it a Drake mallard and that Drake mallard rocks its world, like, good luck motivating it to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's really good advice. That's super. Even as like if you're trying to do baggies young and like you give them a sparrow and that thing starts biting the shit out of their feet and they're not ready for that, like that could be a problem. Like,
no, you just took 5 steps backwards.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I see it all a lot with kestrels. They go right to bagging on starlings, and starlings are gritty little bastards. Like, they're like, yeah. Like, that kestrel's never caught a cricket and you just gave it a starling. Like, good luck.
Right. Good advice. Yeah, it's good.
If you do not introduce your imprint to a certain type of prey, do you have challenges chasing that in the future if you want to?
If they've been like hammering wild quail and like I show them a hun, it might take them a while, or they might chase the first one. It really depends on the bird. Or a chucker. Like, I've had really good quail hawks that I've taken out chucker hawking, and they're like, what the hell do you want me to do with that? It flies 4 times as far and it's 4 times the size. Like, so I've learned that lesson the hard way after a 17-hour drive and never bagging my bird on a chucker and showing it wild chucker, and your bird being like, I'm not leaving the glove. Like,
right.
You're like, I know where I went wrong there, you know? And same thing with like pheasant. Like, if all you've caught is quail and chucker and you show your bird a wild rooster pheasant that weighs friggin' 5 pounds, like with 1.5-inch spurs, like, I don't blame your bird for not wanting to touch that.
Right.
What about rabbits if all you ever did was feather?
Rabbits are trash, Aaron. Just kidding.
I have never had to bag my goshawks on rabbits, but they've all caught baggy quail, you know. Cottontails out here are smaller too, so there's like take that into consideration. Like, right. You guys' cottontails are twice the weight. Most of my goshawks that catch a cottontail here can fly with it. Like,
jeez. Okay.
And that's a male goshawk flying. Like, I remember my North American hit a cottontail and like crossed a road flying over cars with it out here.
Jeez.
So like,
wow.
I mean, same thing when you watch Connor's videos, when like those female goshawks are hitting those cottontails and getting airborne with them. Like, a Western cottontail is significantly smaller than an Eastern.
We don't watch Connor's videos anymore. He won't come on the show, though. Just kidding, if he's listening, which he's not, but anyway.
No, it's not Michael Clark's podcast, so he's not listening.
Yeah. Well, don't get me started on Mike. Jesus.
Is that great? When you know you could talk about somebody because you know they're never going to hear it?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, we love Connor, Mike. You know, they're good guys.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, they're all wonderful.
All right, all that shit. All right.
Yeah,
moving on.
We fucking love everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, so you caught your quail. Let's talk about possessiveness trading off, aggression on the kill. We'll get around to all that, but I'm going to kick off with this initial question. Why are imprints the least chill on a kill out of all types of Goshawks you could have?
Um,
Now I know we could split hairs here, and you could
It's
say
a hard question.
Yeah, you could create an imprint that has great manners on a kill, sure. But just generally speaking, if you had a chamber raised bird, you had a wild caught bird, and you had an imprint bird, all of those things just killed something, and you were going in on the kill. The imprint is going to be the one that's, no, I'm saying generally speaking, tail fanned out, slamming down on its feathers, super sketched by people showing up.
I don't know. I really don't know why. I don't have an answer to why. And if I did, it would be a guess, So I do know that if you're more patient and disciplined, an imprint is less volatile on a kill. Well, and by that I mean like if you do it the same way their whole life. So like I was very patient with the last one I raised, and like I didn't make in until my bird shifted its feet after plucking, And so like
What do you
I
mean
gave
by
my
that?
bird time. So like they've caught something, they're holding it, they're all amped up with 2 feet and they're plucking. So then when they settle for a minute and they've already plucked a lot of feathers off, and then they start looking around, that's when I would introduce a trade-off.
So you're not running and diving headfirst to help your bird, because your bird needs help. Obviously, we all know this, right? We all know that your bird
Especially
needs
with a
help.
Quail, right?
Quail,
Yeah,
cottontail, doesn't matter. You have to get in there. You have to jam your hands in there. So we all know that, obviously.
Yeah, I don't help with quail. Like most of the time, by the time I get to the quail, they're dead, and so it's because I let my bird do his thing. Now, if my bird catches a rooster pheasant, I'm gonna dive in there because I really don't feel like my bird getting spurred by a pheasant.
Good deal. Agreed.
But by the time my bird's catching pheasant, he's caught a lot of stuff.
So are you, when you're doing because this plays right into what we're discussing, like, and I'm not going back to baggies, but I'm just like, are you at a certain point, like if your bird's catching quail, dispatching the quail, you don't have to do anything, and then you're switching, you're moving up to chucker. Are you ever just letting your bird kind of deal with the chucker and not like you're not getting in there and dispatching? Are you allowing the bird to kill it, like to kind of teach it how to kill? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
the other thing, and like, so when I say I'm letting my birds kill, if my bird caught a wild chucker, that's usually a half-mile flight. So like chances are by the time I get there, he's had a good chance to kill it,
Right.
So like I'm pretty much, I'm letting him kill it, but that's because I don't know how fast you can run a half mile in Rocky Canyons, but like,
bro, I'm freaking quick. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. So I have a stroke.
I used to run in there and try to help him right away, and I feel like it just like added to the volatility of my birds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you think
now if my bird's on a jackrabbit, like I'm gonna help it. Like I don't want my bird getting kicked to death by a jackrabbit, and I don't care how his manners are at that point because I want my bird alive, and I don't want him with 6 less tail feathers than he started the hunt with.
Agreed. Okay.
So you'd get in there, kill the
jackrabbit could be
jackrabbit.
12 pounds here. Like that's a lot to wrangle.
So you get in there, kill the jackrabbit, let it pluck a little bit, cool down, and then you trade it off.
Yeah, I reach in, spike it right away, and then back off. Like I try to make it a very quick in and out. Even though I'm jumping in there right away, I try to give them their space and wait till they pick their wings up.
Okay. All right. So just generally speaking, to reduce the amount of possessiveness and aggression on the kill towards you, your advice would be, watch the body language, watch for the sign, and then make the trade-off.
Yeah, wait till your bird is not laser focused on what it's holding on to and is looking around or its feet. I generally wait for the second foot to move somewhere because a lot of times they'll plant it on the ground, and like that usually means that they know it's dead. They're cool, and then like that's a good time to. That's usually a great cue. Now, eventually, they learn that they can unlock the meat cavity of whatever they're holding without your help, and then that's when I start rushing it. Like that, my bird has learned the lessons he needs at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So, do you feel like you getting in their personal space is helpful to just like in counseling, we'd call that exposure therapy, where you're just inundated with the thing that you're not interested in being around. Like if you had a fear of snakes, throw a snake over your
Absolutely.
shoulder.
Like it can help, and like eventually they're going to get used to it. But I think I try to err on the side of just being patient. I mean, luckily, like I'm generally hawking quail, so like my bird doesn't need my help. However, if they let that quail go, they're mad at you. So
Right.
Yeah.
it's like a fine line you got to walk.
So do you stand back, keep your distance and just be
It's
there?
always your fault.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I try to stay like 5 feet away.
Okay. All righty. Now this is probably
Like my first imprint. Like I would rush in there. I would clip the bird in, and like he was really grumpy about it, and like it was my fault.
So how do you prevent these birds from carrying a little quail away?
By flying them at the weight they need to be at. Like my last bird never carried a quail a single time, and I never clipped him in while he was eating. Instead, I did the opposite. I was way more patient, and he didn't feel the need to carry.
Interesting.
I think rushing in, and they might be more inclined to carry when you bum rush them and you're right on top of them and they're not ready for it.
It's good.
Now I know this isn't carrying, but what's the farthest you've ever had to follow your bird when it caught a quail on the wing and just coasted off with it?
See, I don't call that carrying though. Like, because if they catch it in the air, generally they're gliding to like find I call carrying like when you get there and they pick that thing up and they leave again, that's carrying. But like,
right. It's just
if you watch any videos I've ever posted, if they catch it in the air, they don't just drop out of the sky.
Right.
We're on the same page here, but I mean, just as far as like the country that you're flying in, if they catch one on the wing and it's like downhill, just out of curiosity, what's the farthest they've ever taken off with that?
I've had them fly a 1/4 mile down a mountain with a quail.
Jeez.
And how much of that quail's there when you get there?
It depends. Like, generally, at that point, like you're not even getting a photo because there's no feathers left usually.
Yeah. That sucks. I mean, I agree with you on the carrying thing, but I've also had birds that'll grab a squirrel, kill it, strangle it in the tree because it's holding on to something. And then, like some days they'll come down to the ground. Some days they'll go, 50 yards away. And then other days they'll go like 200 yards away. And like, I understand what you're saying.
But even that's a little different because like when they catch a quail on the wing, them and the quail are flying the same direction. So like,
right.
Whereas like there's no forward momentum unless they like snatch a squirrel off like the side of a tree, I guess. But like at that point, I don't think they're going to drop out of the sky.
Not unless it's biting them. Then they'll regret.
Yeah, because even like squirrels I've caught with red tails, when they snatch it off the side of the tree, they're flying 100 yards with it sometimes.
Right. And you don't think that you don't view that as carrying.
I don't view that as carrying. Especially where I live, like there's a lot of eagles and prairie falcons. So like generally they tuck in under a juniper at the bottom of a mountain or a bottom of a hill. So like they'll catch it in the air and then they'll set down under like a comfortable spot, like in the shade. They never land in the sun, almost never. Like it's always in the shade.
Yeah, that's good. I completely forgot about when we were talking about hacking. I completely forgot about the whole eagle thing out by you.
Yeah, we have golden and bald eagles.
Yeah,
and we have
that's
got
a little
prairie
sketchy.
falcon. Like I had a prairie falcon knock a goshawk clean out of the air before. Like they don't.
Jeez.
If they deem it their area, they're not nice.
Yeah.
Can they be a real danger to a goshawk?
I had one knock my goshawk unconscious.
Jeez. Wow.
I guess if
Like
they can,
when I got there, my
punch
goshawk was laying on his side. I mean, he woke up, but
Oh my
like,
God.
I guess if they can punch a mallard in the head and kill it, they could do the same thing to a goshawk.
yeah, that weighs a third of the weight.
Yeah. All right. So this is one of the more important things to me, and I'm not sure how I'm going to deal with it because the goshawk that I imprinted was not what I wanted in regards to this. Screaming, vocalization. It really annoys me how loud imprints are. Obviously, it doesn't bother Casey.
I wear an earplug in my left ear when I'm raising a
All right, yeah, I think a lot of us that hear you say that are like, oh, okay, all right. So I'm not a failure.
Yeah. Like,
Some people say you are a failure. They said a good imprint shouldn't scream.
Dude, they all scream a little bit, man.
Those people never hawk in front of people and never have videos of their legendary bird that didn't scream at 60 days old.
Correct. Okay. Good.
All right. Do you
Those
have
are the
any
same
advice
people
for
that would catch
reducing that?
Those are always the same people that would say that, like, oh, I caught 1,000 quail a day back in my day. Like,
yeah, right.
And I didn't have a dog. Like, sure you did, bud.
Yeah, right.
It always reminds me of the story of like, I don't know if you've ever seen it, where it's like during Vietnam there was only 323 Navy SEALs, but I've met 1,000 of them.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
That's so spot on, though. I've met so many Navy SEALs from Vietnam.
Well, in Vietnam, they weren't Navy SEALs; they were frogmen. They didn't get Navy SEAL the name later. They got it later, but anyway.
Yeah, and so if you look up the number, there's only a couple hundred of them, like ever during that era. But like, yeah, I've met 1,000 of them.
Right. Yeah. So okay. So yeah. All right. Because I got a message. Listen, I got a message from a guy, and I was calling my bird in from Hack last year, and I put a rabbit carcass on a long line, and I didn't want to call her directly to me, so I put the rabbit carcass out, in some brush. And when she kind of saw me and my son, I had probably 150-foot paracord, and I started slowly pulling it out of the brush and let her see it. And then she went down and chased it. And this guy messaged me from Germany, and he was all bent out of shape because he equated that to me calling the bird to me. And they don't do that in Germany, and their imprints do not scream in Germany ever.
According to him.
I don't care. I lived in Germany for a year. I don't care what they do in Germany. That country sucks.
Oh my God. All right. Well, yeah, that's kind of was my initial thought, but I was like, all right.
It doesn't actually suck, and I take that back. I didn't mean that. But
it's okay.
It's very expensive to hunt there, and I don't like that.
Right. Because we're American.
Yeah.
But so like, yeah, he told me that the birds in Germany do not scream. And then I said, well, can you explain further? Actually, if you want to come on the podcast, I'd love to hear how you do it in Germany. And he didn't really answer me.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
What do you think about the method of people keeping the birds super fat all season for its first year?
That just seems like doing things to say you did them that don't have really any net benefit to me.
Well, some people say it results in a bird that's not vocal.
I've never interviewed an imprint goshawk that made any noise its second year. You get through the first couple months and then they shut up. Like, that's just how you do it.
Yeah. I've never got, well, I've gotten, I think, yeah, I had, yeah, Karen
I think there are
really
a couple
scream.
things that can make that worse. Like if you're throwing them food on their perch, like that's bad. If you lock the bird outside and isolate it, I think that makes it a little bit harder to make a quieter bird. But for birds that are raised inside or around people all the time and not isolated, I think they always, usually like December, January, they start to get quieter. But like by October, they're not screaming while on the glove and hunting.
So you think you're more likely to have a loud bird if it's isolated by itself in a chamber?
I think if you have an imprint and you leave it outside all day and like it only sees you when it's time to do stuff, I think it's going to be louder than normal.
Interesting.
I haven't done it and made that bird, but every imprint goshawk I've raised was stone silent in the field by December, and every imprint I've raised was quiet once intermewed.
Yeah, they're more quiet the second year, but I never had them like stone quiet, like at home and stuff. In the field, yeah, they're very much like a noticeable difference in the screaming the second year and the third year. But they're at home, they're still a little bit vocal in their chambers.
Yeah, I mean, like when it's time to eat, but like they're not out there all day, just meh, But like my last Russian bird, like the only vocalization, he would like let out like 3 screams at like 3 o'clock when it was time to load him in the car. Like if he heard you pull in the driveway, but like, okay, that's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
And then in the field, like he didn't make any noise.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
So it's just something
I will say I kind of like it when I'm raising one though. Like when you pull up in your driveway and you hear him in the backyard, you're like, all right, cool, he's alive.
Right. Same. Yeah, same.
Because when they shut up that second year, like a lot more, you're like, are they dead?
Bro, literally, dude. I'm like, that's like, I can hear all 3 of them screaming. And then if like one's not screaming, I'm like, I literally will go and like look in the window. And I'm like, okay.
I wonder if yours are a little bit more talkative because they can always hear other ones too.
Oh my God. Yeah, bro. It's like, yeah, at this point, I'm screwed because I got that bird from Jason Norman and it didn't really scream very much. And then after a week, it's like, oh, this is what we do now. Rah, rah. It's just so obnoxious.
It's like I've raised a lot of Harris hawks for work, and like you can have the best, quietest Harris hawk in the world, and you get it around someone's piece of shit that doesn't shut up. And yours, like, it's like airborne herpes. Like your bird just caught the herpes. Like it's stuck. You're not getting rid of it.
And I've like, so, Paul and Phil, them, and they fly a lot of passage, a lot of imprints. And I lived at their house and I've literally seen them trap a passage. And like that passage within the first season is like screaming because they have an imprint next door. I'm dead serious. Like screaming.
That kind of like confirms my theory about your house. Like I don't think you'll ever have a stone silent bird because you have other goshawks on your property.
After they all die somehow, obviously, then I'll get one, raise it correctly, and then introduce the rest, and then hopefully that one will set the tone for the rest of them.
Yeah.
Hopefully none of them die because I'm set. I'm good. I don't need any more.
I am gonna steal your method. Like I still have a goshawk in my chamber right now, and I'm about to raise another one. I will never not have 2 ever again,
bro. That's the cheat code if you want to fly goshawks. You cannot.
When I found out that's what you did, I was like, oh, that makes sense. Then you're less depressed when you lose one and don't lose your whole season.
Exactly.
Bro, you could have
like when my bird died last year, like I was ready to start a shotgun. I was so fucking.
Oh yeah, it's rough, man. It's always the ones that you really like care about and put a lot of effort into. It's the ones that you could care less about that do not die.
Dude, I had already caught 30 pheasant in 2 weeks with that bird, and then he caught his first hun, and then was sick the next day. And then like the hun he caught, I took a group out and I was like, this bird doesn't really care about huns. I kind of burned him on him young. I screwed up, And covey of huns gets up off my dog's point. My bird flies into the covey and plucks one out of the covey midair in front of a crowd of like gun hunters.
That's sick.
And all their jaws were on the floor. And they're like, dude, you get to see that all the time. And I was like, actually, that was the first time.
Yeah.
And they're like, they didn't believe me, but I was like, I was screaming. I was like, holy shit. Like, cause huns are fast. And so like, that was cool. And then the next day, my bird was sick, and I was like, "This sucks." Like,
are you going to vaccinate for West Nile?
I will. Yeah.
I've never done it. I just go psychotic with the mosquito netting.
Well, the thing is, I don't have mosquitoes at my house. Like, we don't have mosquitoes here. Like, we do, but you got to go where there's water,
right?
And there's no water around. But like, I usually go to Montana for a month, and that's where my bird encountered mosquitoes.
So you were tethering the bird out and stuff, like in between hunts and like with your buddies, and then you think it got it then?
Yeah, I'd weather my bird while we were up there because like there's other falcon. Like we have like a camp we set up, and like we all go up there now, and like McDermott will be up there for 6 weeks this year.
That's cool.
And so like it was like me, McDermott, Brian Wood, Megan Hill. So like we all had our Goshawks there.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it's a good time. And you can walk for like 3 days in every direction, and you're on public land. Like it's cool.
That is cool. What so you just mentioned something, but I'm not going to say what exactly cued me into this. What are your thoughts on breeders talking about birds' weights and then falconers trying to follow the weights that the breeder told them and ending up in a bad situation?
Like I have more faith in essential oils curing cancer.
Okay, good.
What do you think it is about? I mean, obviously they're trying to sell their bird, but even when you've bought the bird, they tell you this bird's going to fly at 1,500 grams.
Yeah,
I won't say which bird it was, but I had a bird that the breeder told other people that I was flying it way too low, and I was catching limits of quail every day with it.
I know the breeder without you even saying, because I
like told my friends that I sent to that person to buy birds that I was flying my bird 100 grams underweight.
Yeah. Yep.
Why were you doing
If I was flying my bird 100 grams underweight, it would have been dead.
Right.
And it probably would have hit my face.
Right. Yeah. I just don't. I mean, just a big goshawk is not. I don't really see the use in it unless you're chasing jacks, or the only two exceptions is you're chasing jacks, or you're chasing squirrels with a tiercel goshawk. Then you would probably want the biggest goshawk. But other than that, I don't understand what this obsession with. They fly at 1,300, 1,400 grams minimum. And
I could give a fuck less what weight my goshawk flies at.
Same.
It's still a goshawk. I caught the most quail. I mean, the most jacks of all my goshawks was my smallest goshawk. And that flew at 615. Caught more jacks than my bird that flew at 800.
Exactly. Yep. And my 900 gram North American caught more squirrels and rabbits in less than a season than any other bird I flew before that.
I do think the North Americans are wired for fur a little bit harder.
Okay.
I will, because Mike, I didn't even have to. I used to rob my North American off of cottontails, and he would still catch them. Because I'd get so frustrated that he was we had so many cottontails then. Like, to catch one quail, you would catch 5 cottontails that day, and it was just. It sounds like such a funny thing, crazy thing to bitch about, but it really did get annoying.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Well, you walk an hour to find quail, right? And then you finally find quail, and your bird chases quail 600 yards, and you walk into that area, just the vicinity, to reflush that quail, and a cottontail walks out with a sign on his head that says, "Kill me." And then as you're trading your bird off that cottontail, the quail walks by you.
Oh my God.
You want to, you're like, I'm going to scream. What? And it was every time.
Yeah.
I have a video where a bird chased a quail into an area. I get there and it's holding a rabbit. I was like, how the fuck did that eat? I didn't even flush that. How did that happen?
So rabbits for you are bycatch, basically.
Yeah. Well, once that rabbit virus hit, we kind of lost 90% of our rabbits. So now I'd probably even post a picture of one if I caught one now.
That's funny. Yeah, I've heard the exact same thing that you're saying, in terms of North American and European birds, that the European, especially the tiercels, seem way more like feather oriented. They'll do both, but they're more like, if you want to catch feather, they're really wired towards feather. But the North American tiercels, like, they got no problem catching feather or fur, and in fact, they really like fur.
And
rather.
I completely agree. Like, you could throw a rabbit carcass out for my Russian bird at weight, and my bird would like, what is that? Like, they would look at you weird.
Right.
Whereas, like, my North American would have kicked down the door like the fucking Kool-Aid man for a cottontail.
It's interesting. It's very interesting. I wonder why that is. I mean, I really, because the European birds are supposedly bigger, right? Not fins, but
yeah, I mean, a 200-gram bigger bird.
I guess it's how they're genetically wired.
It's got to be genetic. I mean, but if you go to a North American nest, you see them bring fur back a lot.
Right.
A lot of squirrels.
A lot of squirrels, a lot of chipmunks, gophers, stuff like that.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the naysayers for squirrel hawking with a goshawk?
They're not paying my food bill. I don't care. Like,
right. Okay.
I think squirrel hawking with a goshawk is like one of the hardest things you can do. Like, and I think it's one of the most physically demanding things you can do with a goshawk.
For fitness, in terms of fitness for the bird.
Yeah, like you're not pulling a goshawk out of the mold and catching a limit of squirrels.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it. And the thing with squirrel hawking too, it entirely depends on what you're squirrel hawking. Like if you're hunting a park, like, okay, like that's not as hard as it can be. But like if you're out in the woods, like that's a little bit harder.
I agree with you.
But. No, but like we've had this debate on the show. Like a squirrel, like in a park, you think red tails are not like hammering those squirrels in the park? Like they know what a freaking avian predator is.
Yeah, but they don't have dead trees to run to holes. There's not root balls to run to, like if they leave that tree, they're fucked. Like,
but that's the fun of it.
They're not scared of humans. You remember
I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, hunting squirrels in an old growth forest in southern Louisiana is very different than Central Park, New York.
That actually, Aaron, we should do that. That'd be a good video, actually.
Me and Casey were walking through the woods, and he goes, "Where's the squirrels at?" I said, "These are wild squirrels. They're afraid of us."
I haven't caught a squirrel in a park setting in like 5 years. Well, no.
And I'm not like, I would, if I had parks with squirrels in them, I'd go hawk them. But like, come out here where the squirrels hide, like in the mountains and pine trees. Like they're afraid of you.
But you're telling, so this is my argument, is like, if you have a goshawk and you're trying to make it to squirrels, like, I'm not going to not go to a park because it's corny. I'm going to go to the park.
No.
Yeah.
But that goes back to like what I was saying about like leading a bird into pheasants. Like, I'm going to show my bird easier birds before I show it like final boss,
Right.
I'm not going to take my bird to the hardest swamp I can find and be like, all right, have fun, rookie. Like if I had a park to start birds on squirrels, like, hell yeah, I'm going to use it. But then I'm going to make it harder from there.
Right. Yeah, agreed. It's
the same thing with duck hawking. Like, do I have toilet bowl slips I can start a bird on? Yeah. Do I send a buddy to flush from further away as my bird gets better at ducks? Yeah. Like, I want to ask more of my bird as it gets better.
No, I just want to kill all the ducks I can. I'll just keep going back there every day until when I open the truck and the bird screams, they all flush off of the toilet bowl. Until they know I'm coming. I could care less.
Yeah, I mean,
I like making it harder, but like, duck slips are hard to come by. And
the best duck hawking I've ever seen, Eric Feltman wouldn't even unhood his goshawk until the ducks were in the air.
What was this guy like a sucker? Like, just he likes punishment or something? Like
he would still catch limits every day.
That's impressive. That is very impressive.
But you're talking about a dude that has flown goshawks on ducks for 35 years.
We haven't had Eric on the show.
Well, he's retired from falconry,
Never
but
mind.
I'm sure he'll take a break from fishing in Florida to answer your phone call.
Is he in a wheelchair?
No. Remember that bird I was talking about that died on a slip? It flew for 12 years.
Yes.
That was his bird. And when that happened, he said, I've had enough fun. I've flown long enough, and he sold his house and he moved to Florida and he enjoys catching tarpon every day now.
So he's still hawking? Or no, he's fishing. Well, tarpon are fish. Duh. What am I
No, I don't even think he has a Florida falconry permit. He's done with falconry.
Wow.
I hope and pray that I never get to that point in my life.
Same, but like I don't blame him for it, Like his boys are teenagers now, he wants to be like doing stuff with them more, and he caught limits of ducks every day of duck season for like the 7 years that I lived here, like that's what he liked. And he would do it in like flip-flops and board shorts. Like the dude was a gangster.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. It's just hard, man. Like it's hard. It hits everybody differently, and it hits you differently with different birds and that die, and it's hard, man. I mean, when my Tiercel got electrocuted, I didn't really want to hang it up. I cared for the bird. It wasn't like I didn't like the bird. The bird was going to be the best bird I ever flown. I could see it from a mile away. He was the calmest, chillest bird ever, but I wasn't like upset about that bird because I learned my lesson like basically the year before. And I was just more inconvenienced that I didn't have a bird to fly. And that's when I kind of said to myself, like, I got to have two birds at all times because you never know. And also I did change the way I hawk, and I don't hawk sketchy slips anymore. And I really look for things now. I'm not as like psycho about it, but
yeah, we're all there. Like when I flew my first imprint on quail, I didn't give a fuck if I had to hop fences to recover my bird. You won't even see me hawk where I can see houses. I won't do it. Like I will not do it.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy that anymore. It stresses me out. And like, I've had my dogs follow me over those fences and like put me in some pretty sketchy situations. So it's just like, I would rather spend an hour driving out into the middle of nowhere to hawk where I don't see people now. That's how I enjoy it now.
Yeah. It's a completely different vibe. Like when Aaron was showing me one of the spots where his bird died, and he was showing me some of his other fields. And he's like, this spot's great. There's a lot of squirrels here, rabbits. And he's like, I got full permission here, like full, like 100% permission. And it's just like, you can feel like we weren't even hawking. We were just looking. And I'm like, you could just feel it, like the stress come off of your body when you have permission and there's no danger there. Like you don't have to worry about it. And it's like, you don't even almost want to go back to dealing with that bullshit with like people and dogs and obstacles.
Worrying about my car getting fucking broken into. Like,
yeah. It's just, it's like, we're doing it to have fun, and like dealing with obnoxious rich people, asking you why you're in a park. Like it gets really annoying, and you're always trying to be sneaky. And at a certain point, it's like, dude, I'd rather just hawk somewhere where like I'm allowed to be here and nobody can tell me what to do. It feels so much better. I also have
a lot more to lose. Like I can't afford to get fucking sued for trespassing right now. Like they can come after my business. Like I'm good. Like when Harrison came out here, he was telling me like all the places they took him to hawk. And he's like, why don't you fly those slips? And I was like, dude, I've been fucking shot at in that field. Like I'm good.
Yeah. Harrison would pee himself if he got shot at.
That's his defense mechanism. The slightest little thing, he pees.
He's like a skunk, but he pees instead of sprays.
Yeah, he told me 2 fields they took him to fly, and I was like, I have had bullets fly by me in that field.
Why are people shooting at you there?
They're not shooting at you. They're out there just shooting to fucking shoot, and they're dumb, uneducated locals. And God. And like, who was I? I was hoking with Joseph P. one time, and we heard rounds, like the noise a bullet makes when it goes by you, like, and snap. Like the ricochet, like the pinging noise when they hit the ground and like then fly by you, tumbling. And we're like, yeah, fuck this, I'm leaving. Like,
yeah,
my best dog. It was 2 years ago. I was like, all right, I'm going to break my rule. I'm going to hawk in Albuquerque. And I was hawking on the edge of Albuquerque. And I had my dogs run through a firing line of people mag dumping AK-47s into a berm.
God. You're in Arizona or New Mexico? Because my cousins are probably out there.
It was in New Mexico. And I almost lost my best dog to some jackass shooting at a fucking sandy berm.
Oh my God.
Fuck, like, it's not worth it to me. Like, I'd rather, that's a day I'd rather get the lure machine out and fucking fly to the lure machine because I didn't have time to drive further away.
Yeah. It really gets old. It really gets old, man. It's just...
Well, and I got tired of my fucking truck getting broken into too. Like that, like I wouldn't even lock the doors and they'd break the fucking window. Like, you fucking jackass.
I left the door open for you, you piece of shit.
And they would steal, like, they'd steal your like gum and like change. Like, you fucking crackhead. Like, I would have gave you that. I would have paid you $20 to not break my fucking window.
Dude, that's what they do. Like, guys that we work in, like the plumbers and stuff. I know we work in Jersey City in like the hood. Bro, they'll break into the car, grab all the chains from the cup holder, and leave the tens of thousands of dollars of tools in the back seat. It's like idiots.
Fucking truck full of Milwaukee packouts, and they took quarters.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Packouts aren't cheap these days.
Yeah, I know, it drives me absolutely insane. I got so tired of buying new ladders.
Oh yeah, you were telling us that on episode number 1. So if you're listening to this, go check out episode number 1 with Tyler. He talks about all of the insanely sketchy situations he got in. But Tyler, I have one last question for you. If you had 60 seconds to explain to somebody, it doesn't have to be 60 seconds, but if you had 60s, you had just a limited amount of time to just explain to one person, this is what you need to do with your Goshawk. Just follow this and try to stick to this and you'll be okay. What advice would you give them?
I would tell them, hunt every day, even if it's only a half an hour. Never feed the bird at the house if you can avoid it. And always take at least 2 baggies to the field with you that are sufficiently fit, or a lure machine. Like, and then just end on a good note every day, like outside of your home environment. I think I've seen a lot of birds bagged on pigeons, goshawks ruined by pigeons, and I've seen a lot of birds ruined by people just throwing them food on the perch, and the bird gets louder and louder and louder, and it just snowballs. Right. Like, drive the bird 5 minutes down the road and fucking clip it to a dog leash and feed it in a cul-de-sac if you have to. Like, I will not throw my bird food at my house when I'm raising it. Once it's flying. Like, obviously you have to when they're in a nest bowl, but
right.
But that's that would be it. Like, but the hardest part of goshawks is reading them. And if you can't read bird body language, you're going to have a really hard time flying an imprint of any species.
Is there anything that somebody can do to learn how to read a bird, or is it something you just kind of pick up from
Learn how to train a dog first. They're way more forgiving.
Right. Or a Harris hawk.
I think Harris hawks create shitty falconers. It lets
Agreed.
It lets you get away with way too much. Like,
we're not going to argue with you on that one.
I think I rarely see someone go from a Harris to something harder and do better.
Man, that's good. That's profound, actually. Save the Harris hawk for when you're old and feeble and you can't really do much else.
Yeah. Or if you just don't have time, like, they're a great bird, but like, go take the time, go trap a passage one. Like, they're at least somewhat harder, but I don't know. Yeah.
So what you're trying to say is challenge yourself.
I mean, I was even saying that with duck hawking. Like, watching Eric unhood his bird with ducks already in the air was like the most life-changing in the falconry sense thing for me for duck hawking. Like, and that bird would fly 200 feet in the air and pull widgeon out of flocks. And it was the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen with duck hawking.
That's insane. Yeah, I saw those. You got some pictures of that too, right?
Yeah, the bird's like 2 telephone poles up there, you know, like upside down, like doing kung fu on ducks. Like that doesn't happen 3 feet off the ditch bank. Like it's not going to happen. Like,
yeah.
All right, Tyler. Well, thanks again for coming on, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me.
Dude, thank you so much for your time. This was a great freaking episode, man. This was great. A lot of information.